What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We got some really big stuff here that has happened today. We'll start with this. Take a look here. North Korea has detained a U.S. soldier. U.S. soldier. So this could escalate and be a very big problem here. This U.S. soldier is believed to have crossed the DMZ, the demilitarized zone here. U.S. official is saying here, U.S. forces are saying that North Korea has detained this guy and they're working to resolve this incident. However, North Korea and the United States are not exactly on friendship lines at all in any way, shape, or form. In fact, we're literally on the exact opposite. In fact, we're borderline, you know, on close to war type of situations here. Take a listen here to what happened.
We learned just a short time ago that a U.S. national was detained by North Korea. It is believed the man is a U.S. soldier. That is according to an American official. Now, according to the United Nations Command, the man was on tour of a joint security area when he crossed the military demarcation line right on the border. We'll get a map at some point to show you where it is. Right on the border between North and South Korea, the demilitarized zone. He crossed the border into North Korean territory, it is believed, when he was taken into custody. We have team coverage. We're joined from the State Department, from the White House. We have our military analyst available. First, though, let's go to CNN's Will Ripley, who has been to North Korea so many times. Will, give us a sense of what happened.
Well, it's a very interesting location, John, because Panmunjom is basically a series of buildings that straddle the border between North and South Korea in an area known as the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. Half the buildings in the north, half the buildings in the south. It's like a tourist attraction. There are gift shops on the North Korean side and the South Korean side. You can get souvenirs. People go, and yes, they see armed soldiers and sniper towers, and there are still mines in the woods, so it could be a pretty dangerous area. But a lot of people cross through without incident every single day that it's open, and it's open for much of the year on the South Korean side, although the pandemic obviously has thrown a wrench in some of that, and certainly it does on the north as well. So this would have been a pretty routine type of tour showing these service members this is what North Korea looks like. They're standing very close to North Korea, but it certainly doesn't happen, or doesn't frequently happen, that somebody would actually step out of their group and actually take that walk across the military demarcation line. It's the line that President Trump crossed when he technically became the first sitting U.S. president to cross into North Korean soil, when he was having some impromptu discussions with Kim Jong-un at the DMZ. And this, if indeed this is a service member who has attempted to defect to North Korea, John, it actually wouldn't be the first time. We know of at least 6 U.S. servicemen who have defected to North Korea, but the last time it happened was more than 40 years ago, back in 1982. It's a very different time now. North Korea is a nuclear-armed nation. They've been conducting lots of launches, trying to get the attention of the United States through their missile testing, and the Biden administration has not reached out at all. But now, John, interestingly, this American in North Korean custody may be an opportunity for the North Koreans to engage that they did not have until this person apparently decided to make those steps across the demarcation line into North Korea.
Well, just to be clear, we don't know why he crossed the line, if indeed he did in fact cross the line. But how easy is it? I mean, when you were on tour there, how close is the North Korean side, and how big of a step is it to simply, go across like that?
It's funny, I've actually only done the tour on the North Korean side. I signed up for the South Korean tour once, and then they canceled the tour, so I didn't actually get to do it. From the North Korean side, I can tell you it's a bit of a distance. You might have to, if you were trying to get over there in a matter of seconds, you might have to do a little bit of a jog to get across. Maybe it would take you 5 or 10 seconds if you're walking briskly, but it's not a very long distance. It's not a very difficult thing to cross. As you can see in the video there, those blue buildings, there's a nice gap in the middle, and somebody could just walk right through if that's what they wanted to do. But very few people do that. And obviously, when North Koreans attempt to do the crossing, sometimes they're even fired at by other North Korean soldiers. There have actually been incidents of bullets flying in this area with North Korean defectors. Obviously, we don't believe that there were any shots fired in this case of somebody actually walking from south to north. But it's pretty rare, as I said. A service member hadn't happened in decades.
All right, Will Ripley, stand by for us for a moment. Priscilla Alvarez at the White House. What are you hearing from there this morning?
This is a situation, John, that the White House is closely monitoring and trying to wrap their arms around. As you heard there's limited communication with North Korea. So this is a situation in which U.S. officials are talking to their allies and really leaning on them as they try to gather more information about the circumstances in which this U.S. national, which was on this tour, crossed into North Korea and is now believed to be detained. Now, again, it is a complicated relationship that the U.S. has with North Korea, and one in which the U.S. has tried to reach out in the past on issues like denuclearization and not received a response. But we do have a sense a little bit about what communication they do have from National Security spokesman John Kirby.
Look, we have channels to be able to communicate with Pyongyang. We don't have, as you know, Caitlin, we don't have an embassy there. We don't have direct diplomatic relations, but there are ways to pass communications back and forth.
So as you heard there are ways for them to pass communication back and forth, but without those diplomatic relations, it makes it all the more difficult and makes this a very tenuous situation. But I will also add, this has been a White House that has made detained Americans a priority. President Biden spoke to it just last week when he was in Finland, saying that he would do all he can, the administration would do all they can for detained Americans. I have reached out to the White House for more comment on this situation. They have not yet weighed in.
Yeah, now some of those U.S. soldiers, some were defectors here in the past. This happens here with pretty much any militaries, and for what reason? We're not really in a war type situation here. It's not really, Vietnam War or anything like that. But the problem here is that when this happened in the past, North Korea has kept some of the, prisoners and never returned them. So we'll have to see what happens. I'll keep you up to date here on this. Also here happening today, there's several things here happening. Also here happening today, former President Donald Trump says he has received a target letter from Special Counsel Jack Smith in a January 6th probe that he is the target of this. It's not immediately clear what the charges will be or if anyone else has received a target, but that criminal charges may be coming from this, and they're actually giving former President Donald Trump a heads up in just the latest of former President Donald Trump's legal battles, that there's more to come with the election here now about less than a year and a half away. So former President Donald Trump posted this on his Truth Social account, a statement by the 45th President of the United States. He says, wow, on Sunday night, he just came out with this today, while I was with my family having just arrived from the Turning Point event in Florida, where I won the straw poll against other Republican candidates with 85.7% of all polls showing me leading the Republican primary with very substantial numbers, almost everyone predicting that I will be the Republican nominee for president. And I am leading Democrat Joe Biden in the polls by a lot. Horrifying, no specific numbers there. No, horrifying news for our country was given to me by my attorneys. Quote, deranged Jack Smith, the prosecutor with Joe Biden's DOJ, sent a letter. Again, it was Sunday night. I'm not sure about the specifics of that, but stating that I am a target of the January 6th grand jury investigation and giving me a very short 4 days to report to the grand jury, which almost always means an arrest and an indictment. So now Joe Biden's Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who I turned down for the United States Supreme Court, in retrospect, based on his corrupt and unethical actions, a very wise decision, Trump says, together with Joe Biden's Department of Injustice, he says, have effectively issued a third indictment and arrest of Joe Biden's #1 political opponent, who is largely dominating him in the race for presidency. Nothing like this has ever happened in our country before, or even close. They illegally spied on my campaign, attacked me with totally fake dossier that was funded by Hillary's Clinton campaign and the DNC, impeached me twice, in parentheses, I won. They failed on the Mueller witch hunt, no collusion. They failed on Russia hoax. I could picture him saying that in his words, right? The 51 intelligence agents fraud, the FBI Twitter files, the DOJ Facebook censorship, and every other scam imaginable. But on top of all that, they have now effectively indicted me 3 times. The DOJ staffed and runs the DA's office in Manhattan, with a probable 4th coming from Atlanta, where the DOJ are in strict and possible illegal coordination with the district attorney, whose record on murder and other violent crime is abysmal. This witch hunt is all about election interference and a complete and total political weaponization and law enforcement. It is very sad and dark period for our nation. So yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. One thing's for sure is there's definitely no lack of news and stuff going on here in our country on a daily basis. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a Trump and Biden rematch here for the next presidency election. Unless something happens, there still is well over a year for the next political election. But at this point, it does look like the Republican candidate most likely will be Trump, and the Democratic candidacy will most likely be Biden, unless something happens. Like I said, there is plenty of time for something to change. You can let me know your thoughts here. Both men would be into their 80s. Biden is already 80, and Trump is 77. So I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country and around the world. If you haven't yet, click the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos. It's completely free to do so. Also, thanks for hitting the like button and sharing these videos. Click here to see a video on Walmart about to make a massive change that you need to know about. Or a video on North Korea and China are a serious problem. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.